Today, we're just going to get right into it as your favorite talking head on the internet does his best to do something, which is keep his promise. That's right. I read another book, and this time it only took me 2 hours and a bit to fully read it. And you're going to have to find out by sticking around to the bitter end to find out if it was worthy enough for you to read. And let me tell you, the book is Milwaukee Deep by debut novelist Kirstie Croga, which was an excellent read. And that's what I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Humphrey. For those of you who don't know who I am, don't worry, don't be sad. If you were to show this video to my mother, she would look at it and watch it and go, I've never seen that person before in my life. And then she'd squint her eyes, get very close because she wouldn't put on her glasses and go, "Ew, he looks like my ex-husband." And then she would change her channel. So please don't feel bad. But I'm just another talking head trying to get my opinion out there because I think you would like it. And I want you to discuss with me what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're doing. And we have a beautiful discussion about it. But today's topic is Milwaukee Deep by Kirstie Croga, who is another debut novelist and has mastered the craft of a first novel. That's right, it was good enough for me to read in 2 hours and a bit, and which got my wife wondering what got me so intrigued. Even she read it, which is kind of odd because I don't think my wife has ever picked up a book in her life. She's going to kill me if she hears that line. But in her defense, reading can be a little bit tedious, and in this way we've created people and we pushed out social media, shorter is sweeter. And this is where the writer has mastered that uh, art of writing. She's made something short and sweet, to the point, compact, and just well put together. And from what I understand, from what I gather, it's based off of uh, her own true story in a way, and you can kind of tell in her writing. The plot of the book is fairly simple. It's about a struggling athlete, we're going to say, a hobbyist who likes kickboxing, boxing, and mixed martial arts, who is a ghostwriter by day, a student by afternoon and day, but an investigative journalist by trade. And I'm going to say investigative because she's not just a journalist who just goes out there and writes and reads what she says or sees and says, but she investigates. And what she does is she gets a story given to her about a family from Puerto Rico who immigrates to the mainland, and they had a whole history from uh, Puerto Rico and its past, dealing with the army, and how she can, unfortunately, this lovely lady, Filomeno, cannot conceive a child, and she blames something that she did in her past as punishment for her not being able to. But there's more to it when it comes to maybe it was tuberculosis, TB, or many other things that it could be. And this journalist is set off to investigate the crimes of the American soldiers and the American army and the American government on the Puerto Rican people, and how it left a lot of people stranded from 1915, I think America got the state, and has really done nothing. And her job is to bring it out there and bring this story to life. Now, I'll give you the bad first because it's easier to start with the bad and then go to the good, because if I tell you the bad, then that will tell you if you'll like it or not. The only big critique I have for it, or bad critique, is the sentence structuring. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people who are new to the English language in particular, a lot of English teachers, if I were to hand this book into one of my English teachers growing up, I would have got eaten alive just because of her use of the comma and her forgetfulness of not using a period. And that's okay. Some people aren't going to like that because it deviates from the pace of the book and the pace of the reading. And my wife, who is Brazilian, did struggle with reading it because she's used to periods more so than she is commas, and that's a that's a different thing. And you got to understand, most people that are probably going to read this book are are going to be hopefully Puerto Rican, Spanish in culture, and American, and let's just say the grade level of reading in comprehension in and reading alone in America and Puerto Rico is unfortunately poor, and that's just a product of time and social media taking over and video taking over the form. A lot of people aren't going to like that. They may also not like that it's short because a lot of people who like to read don't like short things. Me, on the other hand, I appreciated the varying sentence structure. I don't think there was a sentence below 25 words. And if there was sentences below 25 words, it was just one word, which can be a sentence, but to me is not really a sentence, because it was funny to see her go with a 79 long 79 word long sentence. That's right. I think she was going for my favorite author, Margaret Atwood's record of, I think she had 101 or 109 in Handmaid's Tale, or William Faulkner and Malcolm Gladwell, some writers I like who write extraordinarily long sentences. And that's fine. To me, it was fine. But if I were to show this to some people, it might be a turnoff. I did count her sentences, and like I said, it was probably averaging about 25 to a little bit. Like I said, to me, it's no problem. I was fascinated. I read it in 2 hours. So I'm not really the one to judge on if sentence structure and periods and comma splicing is a problem. Maybe a grade 6 English teacher trying to make you write formal essays for university might badmouth it, but that's neither here nor there, because I liked it. I was hoping she would beat Margaret Atwood in sentence length, because I think that's a great accomplishment, being able to be coherent while writing long sentences. Now, the good, uh, there's a lot of good in this book, a lot, if I'm being honest, and in that. What I liked about the book right off the bat, especially for beginning authors, is that it's short and sweet. It's to the point. It gets the point across that it's supposed to, and it doesn't mumble it down and log it down with jargon, right? It doesn't come up with fancy words, and it doesn't reinvent the English language. Okay. And that's important because it's only what I think 180 pages, I think it was on my Kindle. And that's very important, because to be able to tell a story in a short amount of time might be a more invigorating feeling as a writer and as a reader, because you're able to get so much across in there, and she was. I felt like it was the ultimate love story for Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans in general. There was no, I felt no offense for anybody, and I really wanted, I really appreciated the history lesson, and I wanted to learn more about Puerto Rico, and it let me read into it after, and I was able to find out things that I didn't know. As a Canadian, I wouldn't have known, because I think the only thing that we ever worried about Puerto Rico and Canada was uh, when everybody thought the Cuban missile crisis was in Puerto Rico, well, because everybody's bad at geography. But it's a love story. It's a Puerto Rican love story in a way. And you can tell that this person took the time, this person meaning Kirstie Croga, the writer, took the time to research as much as she could about Puerto Rico and its history with America, and Spanish, and that she did leave out that the Germans and the Dutch also. No, not the Dutch. She did mention the Dutch and the Danes, but the Germans were a big part, and the Portuguese were a big part of coming to the Milwaukee Deep, um, which is basically the trench that's outside of Puerto Rico, the west side, if I'm correct. Now, everybody forgets about the Germans colonizing in Portuguese, so that's okay. But what she was also able to do was to get some action sequences done really well. And I'm going out on a limb here because I don't know much about her, but I'm going to fully assume that she is a fighter. If not a fighter, a trainer, and if not training to be one, she was able to make me feel like I was in the ring sparring with somebody or boxing and kickboxing with somebody. She got technical parts down that I was like, whoa, I had to show somebody's that I know that are into mixed martial arts. Is this correct? And they were like, yeah, it sounds legit. And that got them interested in reading the book, which is great because I encourage people to read more. So I'm going to assume she's a writer. When I read this book, I had a vision in my head, and it's might be funny to some, but what I imagine would be like Ronda Rousey if she ever decided to come out and become like an Aaron Brockovich. This is what I got from this book, and that would be a badass person, right? You get Ronda Rousey, Holly Holmes, you get any of these talented mixed martial artists, kickboxers, Brazilian jiu-jitsu stars to say, you know what, I'm going to change my form. I'm going to investigate what's going on with the water in Michigan or something like that. You would get that Ronda Rousey meets Aaron Brockovich feel, and that's what I got when I read this book. That's what I pictured. It's a beautiful story. It pulls at your heart when it comes to the the effects of a poor woman who feels that the reason why she can't have kids was because of uh, something she did in the past. That's her punishment. But in reality, it's something that the government and the soldiers did. And I don't want to spoil much because, like, it's a big part. But it was a very heartwarming book, and the writer should be very proud of it. Uh, to Kirstie Croga herself, please continue to write. Keep writing. You're only going to get better. Don't worry about people complaining about sentence structuring and all that stuff. Just get out there and write. Uh, I liked it. And if I find out you stop writing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray that the New England Patriots don't ever win another football game. That's what I'm going to do if you stop writing. So continue to write, get out there, and do more. As for the fans that always stay to the bitter end to know what I rated, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. So it's great. It's short and sweet. I wanted to know more about the history. Where it just boggled down was the sentence structure and the paragraph formatting. And that happens. She's a new writer. Please cut her some slack. But be impressed about a 79 word long sentence that is coherent enough to go, how many words is that? And then you want to go back and count because I was impressed. You can see where I put it on the actual ranking of the top 5 books I've read so far here. So far this year, you can see I have one more slot to fill out, and then it's going to get interesting because then from here on after, every book I put in there is going to knock somebody off, and that's going to be sad, but it's going to be interesting. Guys, I appreciate your patience with me. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of me down below, like you always do. Let me know what you think of the book once you finally read it. And please do. It comes out on May 2nd, which is very soon. If I don't see you guys again, bom dia, boa tarde, and boa noite. Ciao. Producer, Play the music, baby. What, we can't play music yet?